Survey, yes. Yes, we wanna know exactly the dimensions of that road there. You following me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to do the whole zone or just Como?
It would just
Itself.
be around that vault, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
For now.
Who, Thorn? Was it Thorn? Who's the local surveyor?
Everybody's around
Thaddeus
now.
Thorne was the surveyor for many decades.
I know, yeah.
I mean, White Mountain, they're all gone. Like everybody's
say,
gone.
yeah.
They've been absorbed.
Is it
I mean, we have survey.
Amanuset
we have
is still-
survey at D&K, and I mean, I can include that, I'd prefer to have somebody,
Local, like
Over.
Rod Briggs probably knows where all the
Yeah.
pins already are, and
Gotcha.
Yeah,
people like that.
He's good. Him or Amanuset over in Glen are two people that work a lot in this.
what was it, Briggs?
Yep.
Briggs,
Rod, yeah,
yeah, Ron.
Ron Briggs.
Rod?
Ron.
Is he North Conway?
I don't know his company's name.
Yeah, I don't remember the name.
And design wise, Nick, like an access ladder built into the built in.
Taps,
And that's something we'll just have to discuss all that. Like you're talking about like post and pre taps. Like yeah, I mean we'd want service ports pre and post for testing and whatever. Anywhere we'd want to have a minimum of one available tap pressure gauge. We could even drain line, inlet outlet. Like I said with you guys, we can go put saddles on that pipe and tap them in for the ones that don't have up at the new pit. We can add pretty easily.
Yes, 'cause they balked on our request for that.
Yes.
so we don't have a ladder in that,
And we're not paying them until the ladder goes in.
but as far as our tour goes, we can open the hatch.
We can
for-
open
Yep.
and take a look down, yeah.
Yeah, you guys don't wanna go in there anyway.
No.
You'll see it, you won't wanna go in, even with the ladder, I don't think. The ladder, like, so,
What's important to me on this is like I've had like at the pit down at DPW, we just took an aluminum ladder and we put L brackets in and we built it in. What I want is like make sure that it's thought out that wherever the cover goes, that you're not
on top of a.
on top of it. So whether we do the built-in rungs, which are fine, I don't mind that. I know it, but I have no problem adding a ladder. I just want to make sure there's like a 3 foot.
Yeah.
You're not walking down and stepping, having to dodge and over, little 1/4 inch ports that you're gonna crack off. So
You're gonna step on the sump.
yeah, well you want to, I mean we're
I
careful,
mean, it's not
but
big, I mean, it shouldn't be that big of a drop down, but, so like, I don't know if they can, I haven't seen if they can do some kind of like folding ladder that kind of like sticks up underneath the hatch or something. The rungs that get
mounted in.
Mounted in, a lot of times we don't do those on sewer manholes anymore because they
Fail?
or they rot.
I've
If
had
somebody's-
them fail.
if
The
somebody's
ladder
trying
comes
to
off with
use it.
somebody on it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Great.
that would be bad.
So we really avoid those unless somebody requests it. But if
Concrete
but tho-
stairs
yeah,
inside, huh?
Those
That a
I think
TV
an
couch.
aluminum ladder we can probably find. I'll talk with the hatch folks.
I can show you what I did over at
Find
DPW. I mean, I just added one in after the fact because we wanted it. So we
Yeah.
just cut the ladder to size, threw some rubber bent ends on it, and
Yep.
just mounted it. But again, that kind of goes towards. We have one ditch ladder on the trucks, right? I mean, the person going around doing checks is in a car. They don't have the ability to, if they have to get down in the pit, we want to just have it so that pop the cover, go down in the pit, do their thing. And we don't want the hole to end up in the middle of it. So it's all floating out in the middle of nowhere, and we just want to have that access in mind as we're getting in and out. Too often, that is not the case. So. God forbid the ladder shifts as you're walking down, and then it slides and hits something, and
You're falling and water spurting on your.
yeah, the whole it's just bad scene. It's a no. Thank God there's valves in there for us to shut off. But I think we went and bought that ladder to get in the pit on the last one.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
So we thought there was one in there. So I don't know as far as the design on that, how much more. I mean, that stuff's like our dream wish list on everything that we would have on one of those pits. So
Yeah, I don't think anything's crazy.
No, it's all pretty standard stuff. It's just, making sure it's actually included is the beginning stage of it.
Yeah, I mean, with the sump pump discharge pipe, we'll have to see if we have a place where we can run that. Versus like, I think you wanna just, like you said, you just wanna be able to plug it in and have it run versus having to try and find the outlet pipe and pull
Yeah,
that together and
100%.
run that
We
somewhere.
just drill like a 1/4 inch at the base of it so when it runs it spurts, but when it's, so it drains back, we had to use it in the winter and all that
Yeah.
stuff, but we, as of now, we usually bring like a 50-foot hose, we try to get across the road, 90% of the time cars start driving over, so we flop it over on, it's a flattish area, it runs away, there's a brook kind of on the other side of the road, so it would just kind of go where it goes. And again, every one of these will be a little bit different, but that would be the idea, is that there's a standpipe, the pipe's already sticking out, you flip the cover, there's a cord there, you plug it in and boom, pumps emptying for you to step down in there if you have to. That's my,
And so that, I mean, that standpipe could be some kind of rigid discharge pipe.
100%, yeah,
for the-
that's
for the
kinda what I would
thing,
envision,
and
just
that
even like
could
PVC
you could just
discharge.
Discharge to ground.
Yeah.
Above ground,
Yeah.
like, and I don't have to like.
almost like our
chase it
blow-off
to-
structures, just kinda, we could even put it under grade until we want it in a spot that we want it, and then it just pops up and does it, we just have to keep pitch back so it could drain when it was done being used.
Yep, that makes sense,
Something the plows stay away from.
yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Put it on the backside.
I do think, including bollards, that no matter where we put, as long as it's off the road, for identification purposes and just so that it can't get cleared out, because even if you have a 1/4 inch lip and they slide off the road, that thing's gonna knock the whole top off it, so, I think bollards, so they know that they're coming up on it and, that even if by chance somebody,
Yeah.
slips as they're going, it just,
Well, I mean, if you get a 2-foot snowstorm, those bollards will tell you where the vault is.
Exactly.
And you can.
makes it,
shovel
it really
between
is a
the
nice thing to
bollards.
have kicking around, and they're not a big money, drop them in the ground 4 feet and you're done.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how long it is, we probably just could put them at each corner.
That's what I'm thinking too. You got front corners and that's it. And again, that's all relative to if you're 30 feet off the road, because we have an owned lot and it's away from, fine. But I am gonna probably talk to Jeff about maintaining access to these, as we're gonna, if all that means is just making sure he gets close to it or
Yeah.
whatnot. But, so we'll wanna have that in mind as we're,
Yeah, I mean, I think keeping it close to the road is good for that reason.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there shouldn't be a
and
good
it's
reason
just
to have
like,
it that
yeah,
far off.
Yeah,
And like I said, when we go up, and if you guys want to take a look at the Rigi zone, and you already looked at it, right? So you saw that cover, even if, I just don't wanna have that plan to be buried 6 inches, but even if we had one that's really close to the road or had to be infringing on the road a bit, if it was like at grade or minus like a 1/2 inch or something, just something that we could easily get in and out of without
Yeah.
having to dig up a 6 inch, 8 inch deep, 4x4 foot area would be
Yeah.
nice, yeah.
So, just to use the Riggy as an example for the Como, the Riggy plan called for that to have, that hatch to be aluminum, which they couldn't get, I believe. It
Yeah.
was also supposed to have an expansion where it could get filled 10 inches, I believe, over the top of the concrete, leaving the hatch exposed.
Which, that can happen up there.
But it
You could
didn't.
bury that, no, it did not.
So,
yeah, it's like a
I didn't realize that was-
collar around the hatch
Yes.
so that you raise the hatch to grade. And then the rest of the structure can be buried.
so we're talking about doing that on Como?
I think that the two options
No, I
are.
think what we're talking about would be just leaving the whole top, like be a slab top of concrete, and then within that slab top, you cast in the aluminum hatch, and that whole thing would sit 6 inches above grade and be off of the road,
So-
protected with bollards.
Kind of like what Riggy is now then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it just comes down to individually, on Como, I think as long as we have enough space to get it away from the road, that aluminum door is a great idea. If we don't have enough room to get away from the road, we should probably go with a hatch more like what you saw
Yeah.
up at Riggy. But that's one of the two options that I think are good options to go with.
Yeah.
So we should
I
get
mean,
the
the other-
survey going
Yeah.
as soon as we can then.
Yep.
The other thing, I mean, if we're gonna keep the top exposed, is maybe we we can put in some kind of like shelf of some sort in the, towards the top of the vault so that you can put board insulation in there.
Yep.
I think, you know, just protect it with some board insulation, that's pretty, and as long as, you know, it gets put in at the right size that you can still pull it up and out of the hatch, I guess. And that's a pretty easy thing to deal with if you've gotta get in there in the winter time, and it could either be part of your, you could routinely like put it in and take it out every year, or you could just leave it in there all the time. I don't know how that board insulation does with getting soaked with water. Usually
This,
holds
you're
up.
talking about styrofoam, just regular rigid strap,
Yeah.
fine, it just, you know, takes it fine, so.
Yeah. But I think that, you know, that would give you a little bit of protection. I mean, that concrete should thermally hold some.
Yeah, I mean, none of our pits have them now, they're all fine, you know, but it's not a bad, you know, doesn't hurt to have that extra protection.
Yeah.
Depends on how deep
I
it
mean, the other
goes.
thing I've seen is like, you basically stuff garbage bags full of insulation.
Peanuts or-
And then
yeah.
you just, you know, fill up the thing with garbage bags over the top of it. And when you get there, you just pull
Pop
out a few
'em out.
garbage bags.
Sounds like our outhouses.
But you have to, I mean,
I think it's really
you wanna have some kind of freeze protection if it's not buried 6 feet.
Yep.
Should we take a stab at timeline for the whole project?
I mean, survey probably is gonna dictate how quickly we can get started. But it's not a extended design period. It's probably, you know, once we sit down and really work on it, it's, you know, within a couple of weeks from start to finish, we can have something, you know, set of construction drawings that someone can bid.
So it doesn't sound like we would construct it, install this thing this fall.
No, I don't think so. I mean, my guess is you're probably gonna be 6 weeks for survey,
Right.
Okay.
minimum. Like, just knowing what our survey timeframe is, you're probably 6 weeks, you know, you're middle of September before, or probably beginning of October before I'm seeing a drawing that tells me where my work area can be to stay in the deeded roadway.
So we'll kick it off by, the critical path here is to get the survey started. And we're specifying that we want the lot that the PRV sits on surveyed in the lot across the street from it. We wanna know where the road is. And I'm thinking, do we wanna say that we want it to the corner of Como and Hotwell? And back around the corner of Como to where St. Moritz starts?
Yeah,
Then you
it's
have
almost that little stretch of Como, right?
a bigger area than the vault itself. You wanna have a little,
They're probably gonna have to do enough area that they're comfortable, you know, they're gonna have to find enough existing pins and then match that up with deeds to be comfortable that they're producing a drawing that's accurate. We'll have to talk with a surveyor about, like, when you say, like, what that means in terms of that lot, like, you don't want them to have to chase it around to other portions that are well beyond what the work area is gonna be.
you wanna stop there for a few minutes?
Yeah.
All of us, so we're all looking at the same thing?
Because you do have a long stretch anywhere from Oak Ridge down to it, and just because the PRV pit is where it is, doesn't mean it has to maintain there. So if you have a better building lot, then you could move it. So, honestly, trying to work exactly where it is with the pipes already running over to that way and all that stuff, it would simplify the project to have it not exactly where it is now, you know, so you can maintain water flow and all that stuff as you're pre-building the other pit. So, yeah, let's look at it and just see what extents we even want to consider looking at.
Anything else?
Do we want to discuss, I know Nick's gonna need, you know, actual information on this, so, as you noted, we've done pressure testing over there a handful of times. you know, I think the considerations on the sizing of it, that would probably be dictated, like you said, by the meter. I can take a look at that, you know, see what, I imagine even if it's just kinda, if we know it's kind of a temporary setup, I can just get a couple taps in, you know, run temporary, like for a week, run off that meter or something, put in like a inch and a half or even a 1 inch. I mean, we know we're restricting flow to some degree, potentially. Maybe I could fit like a 2-inch meter in there and
Do
just.
you know when your max day is? Do you have a date of what your?
I
max
would
day
say
is?
it's around like,
President's Weekend or like?
no, typically the middle of winter, like you know, you're talking heavy ski season,
New Year's Eve.
New Year's, Christmas.
Christmas break, yeah.
Some Martin Luther King weekend is usually a really big one.
Yeah. Well, President's Weekend, a lot of times.
Is that
I've seen it.
February?
Yeah. 'cause
Yeah, so that's a big one.
It's attached to February vacation a lot
Yeah.
of times.
Yeah.
So
So it's-
any of those winters, it's very much so
Yeah.
our,
It's more winter than it is
Yep.
summer, right?
yeah,
So
summer
it's
we have like higher usage kind of
average.
rule, the average, but winter you'll see spikes.
those-
You'll get a 40, 50,000
that
gallon per
Thursday,
day
Friday,
spike.
Saturday probably of whichever weekend of February vacation is that.
I mean, I've
holiday
seen, yeah,
weekend.
we've gone from like 80 to 150,000 gallons a day on one of those really busy weekends,
Yeah,
so.
so doing the monitoring, unless you're doing it during that time, probably doesn't give us too much. And, I mean, it also won't tell us what the build out, what the future is gonna be too. So part of what I'm gonna look at is probably how many lots are in that zone that,
Can be built.
yeah, I mean, essentially, you kinda have to think, if it's an existing lot, it can be built on, it's just how expensive is it gonna be to build on it, right? So like, there's no. at least
People are
my
building on those
understanding is
really expensive
there's
to
no
build
such
on
thing as
lots,
an
so.
Unbuildable lot, it's
No.
just how much is it gonna cost to build on it?
They're building on
Ledge.
lots that shouldn't be built on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, part of the tour will show you a house where the septic system and the well, they have a well. And from where the above ground septic system is to the well is no more than the distance between me and you.
Right.
How was that?
I'll show you
Interesting.
this.
Did-
Right.
And then you'll know they're
Wonder,
building on
yeah, is that
everything.
permitted?
How?
So what I've seen on that,
Well, I'll let you look at
what
it.
I've seen on that from my own neighborhood
Good Lord.
experience is, I think I've seen where people will get their septic approved based on it being on a community water system.
And then go and get a well,
And then go
if we
and get a
deny
well.
them.
And then they found out, like in
Did we deny
in
the
our case, they
connection?
found out that they couldn't, it was gonna be so expensive to blast to get the service line at the 6 feet of depth, which was required, because you wanna make sure that that thing doesn't freeze and break, and
Cheaper to drill a well.
so they
Really?
drilled a well after the fact.
I think this builder was choosing to put the wells in himself, that he didn't actually apply for a water hookup. And in this particular case, it's a newer house, and they actually had to replace
The septic.
the septic system because they built on a wet lot, I'm guessing, I don't know. But in the same way that I'm saying from me to him is where the well is, shorter distance beyond him, a cat of nine tails. The lot is that
Wet.
That's,
wet,
it's like a swamp.
and they let him put a septic system on it and build
Wow.
a house.
That is wild.
It's, well, I'll show it to you.
Yeah,
It's
we gotta see
short distance
this.
from the Como zone,
Wow.
Como valve.
Now, I don't think, again, I know we're not trying to get off track here, but is people can't drill a well without being denied without being denied to the water system. So if you're inside the community bound of this system, most of the time the state won't make it so you can't, they will approve a well if you were, they won't approve a well until you're denied from the community to access to the water system.
That's news to me.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true.
I
Yeah.
don't think
I
that's
don't
the
know if that
case.
is, cause I think it depends on how that like if the system has like what do they call it, like a enterprise area,
Like a
or
bedroom,
something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I was quite sure on that with these guys being a village district that they owning their precinct bounds, that people have to have a denied application in order to drill a well, but maybe I'm wrong. Worth an ask. Certainly, if you're non-conforming, there's no question. They would almost require you to be on the water system before approving a well. Like what you're talking about, there's obviously, you're not meeting setbacks. It's probably 200-foot radius from a residential well to to the septic system, which almost no lot in here can get, so
But a
maybe it's
residential
100.
well, I don't think has any real approval process.
They do.
Through the state.
Yeah, you still, you have to show that you can maintain 100, maybe it's only 100-foot radius, you gotta show a radius from contamination sources in order to be able to get a well approved. Cause people, I'm dealing with it over in Bartlett right now, people getting denied their wells based on that exact thing, so, I think it's worth looking in, if you guys care to. If you don't care if people are drilling wells, then I guess we just let them do what they're doing, but, maybe worth looking into.
It's not a priority for me.
Yeah.
No, it's not a priority, but
It's what I'd like to
Good
avoid
to
situations
know.
like I'm gonna show you when we go.
Yeah, well, yeah, we
Yes.
all would, you know,
I almost wanna go up to that house and say,
this is a bad idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
can you tell me what's going on here? Do you know what's going on here?
Okay.
We all set?
I think so. I don't want to hold us up, but I just want to put the bug in the ear. I know you called me a couple weeks ago about that lot over on Briston Stock. I want to stay. Has anything been decided or changed or accepted on that? That was the guy looking to maybe potentially run another line or
Oh.
from house to
Oh, yeah, no.
nothing new. I just want to make sure I don't get a
Nothing
call.
new.
Let me know if anything you guys make any decisions on that because they'll call me and say, oh, I was
Yeah,
told I
we-
could
we
do this.
sent
I want to
him-
make sure they
we
we
can.
sent him a letter with the information that you gave me.
Okay.
Showing that he cannot interrupt the
Gotcha.
service line to the house.
Yeah.
And that's
Where it's left for now.
that's
We should-
where
we
we're
should
at.
email him a copy of that, of what we sent to that Briston Stock owner. We should email it to Simply Water so that he has that, if that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just like any
And-
whenever you guys make like a decision, it kind of becomes like what the working operation will be.
Right.
So it might save me.
right. Yeah, no, we followed exactly what
What you,
Good.
you pointed me
Um,
to.
good. So we'll yeah, just let me know whenever you guys do make any level of alteration to any of that stuff,
Yeah. Right.
or make a decision on it. That way I know when these
Yeah.
contractors call us, we know what to tell them.
Yeah.
Cool. That's all I had additional, I believe.
We don't have any active or outstanding connections, right? I've gotten back to you on all of those, I'm pretty sure.
You approved Hutwell. We have that for the
Right.
13th.
I think that's.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
last one I did.
That's
Okay.
the last one.
So there's no other connection requests this year?
I think I have got one coming up, but they still haven't completed their requirements.
Slowest year we've had in like
Yeah, I know.
a decade.
We did a few in the spring, right? We did. I don't
We
know, I
did.
thought I've
Did we
done-
deny any?
Yeah, really.
No.
What?
I said, have we denied any connections this year?
Yeah.
We
the
did.
one on
Oh, you did.
Aspen Road.
One, yeah.
Oh, the one that didn't have any pipe around it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it, that I know of.
Didn't have frontage.
Oh,
No main running in front of it. They would have to either come up from the, they would have to
22?
build it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have to build main to get to their property.
so the drop in the request for water hookups is an indication of what the economy is doing?
Potentially.
Hey, man, you know.
Very potential.
So this is the way it works for me, is that we do all our planning when things are expensive and then the economy goes down and then we roll out the project and everybody wants to work. When we did the DPW well in the 6,800 feet of pipe, we had 16 companies show up at the
Really?
garage to bid on the contract.
Yeah, you'd be lucky to see
16,
two.
Wow,
Cause the economy was,
sure. That's funny, we're talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, we are. I mean, the way the state puts out their projects
Yeah.
blows my mind. They give you 10 days to try to take a drawing and
Yeah.
create $1 million project. You're like, well, why don't you guys like make it 30 days so people have an opportunity, more people can look at it, they have actual opportunity to get pricing. It's crazy. They just, and then maybe 3 people bid on it because they're, they got other projects going. They got a time frame, they accept it, and then the project starts a week later and you're like, if you want any level of
Jesus.
decent,
Wow.
any competition on it, you gotta elongate that. To that effect, I mean, you guys, as he's designing this, if you put a year on, like, hey, we're gonna put this out in the fall. If he gets information by October, and you say we want this completed by November 1st of next year, you'll have better, give more people an opportunity to look at it. And you can still have a short, you say, hey, we want bids in the next 30 days or something. But you give people a larger window. They can say most people are tied up for the next 3 or 4 months. If you elongate it to a degree, you'll have a better pool of people looking.
It's an important project, I think it's a worthy project, but I wouldn't say it's a fire. It's not something that's
No.
failed right now.
Yeah.
I
To
think-
date, we don't have any particular issues on that. I mean, we have a concern
Yeah.
that we know that as we build out, we know that, you know, or we certainly assume that it's gonna be
There's
an
a few,
issue.
yeah, there's a few spots where I'd be curious to monitor, like when we monitored last time, I think we got 7 days, but again, we didn't get that peak. And I mean, you know.
Well, with the, I could install, I don't know if it'd be messed up trying to put it in, cause obviously in the middle of winter, I can't put the transducers out there. Unless I could find a way to put them in the pit, which I don't know how much they would get messed up from that. I don't know if it would, you know, be such an immediate reaction to that opening and closing of the PRV pit that it would get a little funky, but, we could brainstorm on that, see if there's a
I
good
think what I'd like
option.
to do is,
It may not change enough.
the rest of the agenda is commissioners' reports. I don't think we have any correspondence or signature items.
Yeah,
That,
you do.
what do we have for signature items? Well, wanna do this, wanna get to the tour, so,
Do we wanna, wait and do the rest of it after?
yeah.
Yeah.
There was one other thing you mentioned, was the sodium bicarbonate.
Yes.
We're gonna go down to the DPW, we can take a look at that.
So we'll recess this?
Yes,
Right.
until after the tour.
Yes. I'll make a motion that we recess this meeting and do a tour of the facilities with the engineer and the water operating company.
Or continue the
Second.
meeting to the tour.
That's right.
The meeting is technically,
Aye.
the tour is part of the meeting.
Yeah.
Yes,
True.
actually it is, so we're not recessing.
We're not
it.
really-
Right,
recessing.
we're going on the road.
It's a road trip.
Moving the agenda item.
Do you know if
So I wanna make it so that everybody understands that's watching this, that they're not gonna watch the next part of it, so. So we're recessing the meeting and we're going to then continue the meeting with a tour of the facility, and then we're gonna have a non-public session at the
After,
office after
yes.
the tour's over. So Asia, I'm not saying that we're adjourning, and I'm not saying we're recessing, we're just stopping the
We're just going
show.
on.
Moving on.
I would see your backpack.
Thank you.
Maybe if I had different equipment,
Right.
a van or something.
So we'll take care of